Hey everyone, this has been a really great month. I've been blogging for the August Wilson celebration for Goodman Theatre. Thank you, Sid and Chatham and Janice Schneider from Goodman for the opportunity, as well as the August Wilson Dream Team. It has been lovely working with you all. This is my last blog entry, and make sure to go see Two Trains Running at Goodman. It closes this week, April 19th. You can get tickets on goodmantheatre.org. So, for my last entry, I have been spending the last couple of weeks interviewing women who have really changed my life as a performer. Michele Shay, Yvette Ganier, Lateefah Holder, the beautiful Nambi Kelley, who you can catch in Two Trains right now, and of course the incredible TaRon Patton. And they all have amazing things to say about what it means to be a woman in August Wilson's work, as well as kind of how they stumbled upon August, and it is just fantastic. So have a blast watching these interviews. You're gonna have fun. Okay, thank you all so much for following the Body Courage journey, and feel free to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Body Courage. See you on the flip side. Bye-bye. What was the greatest lesson you learned while playing Louise?
Well, what was the greatest lesson I learned? When I created Louise, I wanted to pay homage to my mother and her friends. My mother was a widow, and she raised both me and my brother. She had a friend named Sophronia who had the best laugh and uses humor all the time. She was my number one inspiration for creating Louise. And the biggest thing I learned from Louise was to be totally comfortable in your own skin, and just because you got older didn't mean that you weren't sexy.
The last August Wilson show that I worked on was 7 Guitars at my MFA program at ACT with Michele Shay.
And what was that experience like?
That experience was unlike any experience I've ever experienced in my life. There's something that Michele always says. She talks about if a play is being done right, it's the best time you've ever had in your life. And to me, that play was that. She calls it illegal fun because we know it's work and we know it's hard, but it's illegal fun because you're having so much fun doing exactly what you love, working on this text, working with her. And she said that's something, a phrase that's been passed down through people who have worked on August Wilson, this illegal fun, the laughter and the amount of camaraderie and joy and the friendships and the connections that you make with people. I was just talking to a friend about how much we laughed during that entire process. And that doesn't mean that it wasn't one of the most difficult things I've ever worked on, but it was fulfilling in so many ways. I laughed more than I've laughed, I think, on any other thing I've ever worked on.
What was it like working with Michele Shay?
I mean, working with Michele Shay is kind of like, I'd say, working with like a cherub, some kind of angel. Like she's kind of like, she's otherworldly. She's kind of like, we call her magic because it's like she's in and out. She's there. It's like a spirit. It's like someone is with you kind of thing. And just her attention to detail, her everything. It's weird. I can't even explain what it was like besides the fact that it was one of the best experiences of my life. But I do remember specific instances where I would be sitting there's a scene in 7 Guitars where Louise and Hedley are sitting in the yard, and Hedley's making sandwiches that he's going to sell tonight, and Louise is smoking a cigarette on the stairs. And the scene is going on the other side of the stage with Floyd and the other guys. And she would always say, "Stop acting, just be." Or don't act. Don't act. You don't have to act. And I remember, the first time that actually became real to me when I sit, and it was in that moment, in that stillness, sitting on that step, watching my friend York, who was playing Hedley, and that's just sitting there. And all of a sudden, it was this feeling of you were just there. You were somewhere else other than on that stage. And then she stopped and she said, "Did y'all feel that?" That was it.
Tanya, King Henry II, at the Goodman Theatre, I think that was 2000. The Goodman Theatre was opening up its brand new renovated spaces, and King Henry was a commemorative play to do that. And so I did that. Tanya with, it hadn't gone to Broadway yet. We were still working on the play. And I got an opportunity to work on some of the most complicated, dense text that I've ever experienced. And that monologue was incredible, is incredible. And then I went on to understudy Viola Davis on Broadway in that role.
Wow.
And then I kind of, left and went and did another little play called Breath Boom at Playwrights Horizons. And then they called me and asked me to do Black Mary. Wow. And Black Mary was another original character that I originated. And again, at the Goodman Theatre. And it was just remarkable to take something that August wrote and infuse my interpretation into this character. And a lot of it was just a lot of creating business, and even David Gallo, who was a set designer, had to design around what it is I was doing to create the kitchen. We had no kitchen before that. We had nothing except, a sketch. And, of course, David has design, but the actual inner workings of where the stove is, where the ice box is, where the pump is, all that stuff. It was kind of based on what I was creating, and I'm left-handed. So that whole process was based on a left-handed person.
Wow.
Which is interesting. Yeah. So I did that, and that was great. I mean, the history of that play and the spirituality of that play, it was infused in that process. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of tense moments, and Black Mary is one of those characters who, when you look at her, when you look at me doing the character, it was like, well, why is she called Black Mary? It's not obvious. And I think any actor moving forward who gets a chance to play that role, and any director or producers need to take into consideration that Black Mary is the heir to Aunt Esther. Aunt Esther, who you meet in Two Trains Running, is the Black Mary from Gem of the Ocean. Mm. Yeah, not the Aunt Esther who was in Gem of the Ocean, because right. Black Mary took over, so she became Aunt Esther. Wow. So the obvious, Black is not necessarily what people, in my opinion, should go after when playing that role, because her Blackness is a lot deeper than the color of her skin, a lot deeper than her reputation prior to coming into Aunt Esther's home. It has to do with her soul and where she finds herself at this time in her life, what she needs, her redemption to be redeemed. And it also has to do with the beauty of being Black as well. That's my humble opinion. August Wilson monologue competition is just amazing. And I just worked with, had a meeting with Alice Krieger at LEAP organization. She wants me to come in and work with these students. And I think that's such an honor. I'm in the books. I'm in the history books. I mean, that's something I can pass on to my family, my children, my grandchildren. No matter what, I was there, and I was able to, have that as part of, I guess, legacy. Yeah. I mean, August Wilson gave me so much, and I have that. And whatever the legacy is, I don't know if I'm the one to write it. I guess other people will have to determine that. But to have been there and worked with him, it was a dream come true of mine. It was an actor's dream to be able to work with him. And that's one thing I can say that I was able to fulfill in my lifetime.
What I feel his legacy is I almost think it's too early to tell, because he's been gone 10 years. And, the funny thing is, anybody that's come after him has all been, oh, it's the next August Wilson. It's the new August Wilson. It's August Wilson-esque. And it's like, August Wilson was August Wilson. He's not America's Shakespeare. He's August Wilson. You know what I mean? And so let him stand on his own, and whoever comes after him, let them stand on their own. At the same time, the thing that's been resonating with me with this particular show is I've been feeling like, I've never felt that the theater that regional theaters do, sorry Goodman, is very political. But the more I'm listening to this play, to Two Trains, the more I'm like, man, it's such a political statement to put these people on stage and let them sing. You know, like, that's a revolutionary act. And I think the older I get, and perhaps the further we get from him actually being with us and having walked amongst us, I think the clearer, like, the revolutionary part of that will be on a grander scale. In terms of the women of August Wilson, the thing that I love about August's writing is that he writes, like, the same characters are in the same play. Like, even if they're not, how do I say this? Even if they're slightly different, like Molly Cunningham is not Ruby from Seven Guitars, but they're sort of these archetypes of femininity that sort of travel these decades and of that century, and I really appreciate that about him. And he does it with the men too, but the women, I think that there's something really powerful about the transformation of that from generation to generation, and how the essence of that is essentially the same. And it's always this sort of, people say, oh, it's not, you know, not rounded. I don't agree with that. I think that the beautiful thing about it is it allows you to pour so much into it as a woman that you create this full space, and I like living that.
The text that everybody was scaring me to death about, like, it's the text. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be, you know, you got to ride the rhythms. You got to. I was like, oh, y'all kill me with this. But when I read it, it was so easy for me because that's the way I talk. Those are the things that, you know, when I went to acting school, they were trying to beat out of me because that's how I talk. I talk in run-ons, and I talk with my hands, and, you know, I go from one thing to the next without stopping at a period, you know. So that part of it was invigorating for me because I wasn't being told to stop that. I could say X, I could say finna, I could say gonna, and nobody was telling me I was wrong. So I wanted to do it all then. I didn't even know who August Wilson was, which is an atrocity because I had a master's degree and I didn't know who this man was. And so that's when I started to delve into August Wilson. And then I was a part of a company that had history with August Wilson, which through Derek, and I found out that he was more to us than just a playwright. You know, our first show, which was Piano Lesson here at Congo Square, our first money we got was from August, and he was a huge supporter and donor for this organization. So he's our daddy. So the most fun experience that I had would be recently. I just played Ma Rainey. Well, I always wanted to play Ma because she's just that diva. She is that diva. She is that woman of power. You know, a lot of the women in August plays are the women of the men of power, or they find their power in who they are and knowing who they are. But this particular play, Ma is the boss. And so I got a chance to play her. When I've seen Ma done, I've always felt like there was an element of pain to Ma that people scratched the surface but didn't quite deal with because of her outward persona. So when I approached it, I really, upon reading it, I saw a diva, but I also saw a dinosaur, a woman who had been at the top of her game, and yet we find her at the point or the pinnacle when it's about to go this way, when the new music is coming in and the new sound is coming in, and she's aware of that. So I had a ball riding that roller coaster ride with Mom. I did the Black Bottom because that's just who in the moment I felt like she would do. She's uncut, you know, and you can take out the inhibitions and you can take out the stops with Mom. And what I've learned from the women that I've played, I also played Ruby in King Henry II last year. And what I'm learning about these women, or shall I say what I'm learning about myself, is that all of the things that you experience in life, the love, the hate, the pain, the ups, the downs, it's necessary. You can't live your life without them. So don't be afraid to hurt. Don't be afraid to cut somebody's ass out. Don't be afraid to tell somebody who you are or tell someone that they've hurt you, because there's power in that. And so I won't, at the beautiful young age that I have arrived at, I still feel like I look forward to being older. I look forward to getting to the age where I can play honest. Because then that's a whole new world of knowledge and life that I would, and I feel like August gave African American women that in his women. He gave us cycles where we could start young and grow old. And so for that, I will always be indebted to him.